Join. We can probably get started. Abhijit, do you want to start?
Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah.
So let me share my screen. Okay. Okay. Could you provide me, Raj, if you could provide me
I
permission?
think Rajat will have to make you co-host.
Yeah. Oh,
I've made you the co-host now, Abhijit. Correct.
let me. Okay. Okay. Is my screen visible to confirm?
Yeah.
Yes.
Check. Good. So, hey everyone, welcome to the Git and GitHub Masterclass for all. So, a little introduction about me. My name is Abhijit Singh, and currently I'm working as a software and MLM expert at Visuara. Previously, I was in Fire, which become the fastest unicorn in India, and I've cleared Google Summer of Code and Summer of Bitcoin. And free time, I like to play guitar and work on my music skills. And a little introduction about our team. So our team founder is Rajat, Raj, and Sridhar. They have graduated from the world top university, MIT, and India's top university, that is IITs. And so what is the session outcome for this GitHub course? So first is that you gain confidence. So when you use GitHub, I have seen students use GitHub and Git, and they find it very tough. So when they are asked to, like, hey, could you remove your commit and add those commit to separate branch, I seen that a student started to sweat it out, and many other devs also started to sweat it out. So that's why we have created this workshop, so you could gain confidence. So when you use Git and GitHub, you have confidence. Okay, no, you know what you are doing, and you have intuition what it's behind. So after this course, you will be having confidence while you use Git and GitHub. uh, we are going to go over through basic commands, what are Git basic commands are. Then we are going to look what are the intuition behind it, and then we are going to look at some advanced commands such as reflog and git cherry picks. And then we are going to look at what is GitHub overview. Then we are going to look at what is branch management, so what industry usually follows naming conventions such as QA branch, such as UAT, which is user acceptance testing. QA is for quality assurance testing branch. And what does this branch mean, and how is this is used in industry practices. Then we are going to see how does collaboration work in GitHub. And then we are going to look at some history project, some open source project, and what are the history behind it. And in the last, uh, we are going to look at how you could have some host your static website directly onto the GitHub. So you don't need to uh, host directly, like you could directly host on GitHub instead of going purchasing Vercel license or Netlify or any other servers to host your website. So with this, let's get started. So here are some prerequisites. I hope you have installed Git. If not, it's like a 5-minute step. You could go to the Git and Let me share it directly to you. So you have to go into the Google, and let me share my screen again, entire screen. And you have to go directly to the Google and search git install, and then you could install the git, and it hardly takes 5 minutes, and you could go choose whatever version you are. For Windows it's Windows, and Mac OS if you are in Mac, and Linux. So basically once you installed it, we can then uh, let me share my screen again. Yeah. So once you have installed it, I want you to be having your laptop by your side. So this course, this workshop should be would be a hands-on and much more of a practical thing. So instead of hearing, you might be working onto how to host your GitHub project directly to the GitHub. And if possible, if you could turn on your webcam, so I could know that you are there, and it doesn't matter if you are having uh, anything at your background, just so that you know you are present there. So it would be great if you could have your background like webcam on. So with this, let's get started. And the first question is like, why learn Git and GitHub? Why you should learn GitHub? Why not directly learn React? And why directly not learn uh, machine learning? Why not directly learn direct backend technologies? Why learn GitHub and Git and GitHub as your first step? So basically, why learn Git and GitHub is because it's the basic thing when you go out into the industry, basically IT industry, and you start your career in IT. Git basically you will be following into your whole coding journey. You will be using from like your starting programming life to the end of your career journey, and you will be using Git. It's the industry standard, and no one there is software that have been replaced by Git. So Git is very basic, and company assumes that you know Git, and that's the case. Next is learning Git and GitHub would help your code quality to go improve. So if you have some project you hosted on GitHub, some and other devs could come onto your code and have some code review. You could have code review on GitHub, and they could make out some uh, statements like they could review your code, and they could help you make your code improve. Next is collaboration. So if you want your if your have project wants other dev to be on there, uh, GitHub is a standard platform, so other devs could come onto that platform, and they could contribute to your code. Next basic reason is version control. So if you want so if you are working on a project, and you don't want your project name to be like this is final project folder, this is really final thing, and so on, uh, Git is the basic thing that would solve those. Now if someone asks what is Git, you could basically tell them in basically two words. Git is a distributed version control, which is basically what Git is defined. Distributed version control. So if someone asks you what is distributed version means, so distributed version control system means basically every dev have their own copy of the code. So suppose here is our server. This could server could be your personal server where you host your code, or it could be GitHub, and or it could be GitLab, or it could be Bitbucket where you host your code. And here is your code basically, and here is dev1 is working on their code. So here you could see every developer have their own repository, and they have their own copy of code. So if something is bad commit have been pushed out, it won't directly go to the server and messed up your code. So here you could see how things is much more modular and aligned. So every developer have their own code, and they could work on any feature, any bug they are working out, and or any patch they are working out, and this would work in very much distributed version. So now let's look what is centralized version control system means. So centralized version control means you have single server, and you have only single copy of all developer have a single copy of a code. So what happen is, suppose if developer one, suppose here in developer one uh, pushed a wrong commit. suppose it mistakenly coded out some wrong commit, and it's now pushed, and now other developer who are working may get those wrong code, and they would be really mad, like, who have committed this code and why it's directly onto my code, why not working. So here you could see how messed up things are in centralized version control, and Git is basically a distributed version control. Now there is no alternative of Git right now. uh, Git is industry standard, and Git was developed by Linux. So it was made by 20 years ago. A little history about it. It was basically Linux, who was the founder of Git, uh, made this. So let me share this tab. And here you could see this is the first commit. And in the chat, you could also, uh, there is the link for the first commit, and you could see how much time it took to make Git till now. So it was 20 years ago, and you could see how much time it took. And basically, what does Git mean was to global information tracker, which uh, you could also, if you need to connect it with Get, you could connect it with it. And basically, if you come to make file, and if you, it was a simple code in C, and you could understand what is happening here. So at that time, if you want to initialize your Git, you need to call this Git in a DB, and that would initialize your Git. And if you need to update your repository, you need to call update cache, which was now it changed to Git fetch and Git pull. Now if you need to show the difference, it is was show diff, and write t was to write and update the changes. Read to tree was to commit those changes, and here similarly commit tree and cat files are. Now you could see now the Git have gone to many version changes, and it's now very big code. You could see here it's now have been convert. It was only and the first commit was in C. Now it's having many other language combined, and it's now very complex. But basically, that's how Git works. Now let's come back to slides and uh, see what was happening 20 years ago. So when Git was not there, you could familiarize with this. You might have seen your save your file with final one, or final, or this is final for try, or okay, this is definitely final. You might have saved this file. Even I have sometimes, when I did not know Git, I used to do this thing. Then after 20, like in between, in later days, subversion came, like SVN, which was known as a centralized GitHub centralized version control. Basically, it was developed by Apache, and you know that if it's centralized, and if some dev have committed wrong code, the whole code copy would be messed up, and whole developer would be in lot of pain. So then the Git came, and it really resolved all the issue, and that's how Git history is. Now let us look at what is GitHub. So GitHub, if you want to imagine what is GitHub is, you could directly imagine it with, like, if like Google Drive is for your folder files, and if Spotify is for music, you could similarly make GitHub is for the code. So basically, if you look at to the definition of what is GitHub is, GitHub is a web-based platform to provide you hosting for Git repository. So you could host your Git repository or project directly to there, and they have a lot of feature out there. You could fork it. You could create a star basically to appreciate the code, and you could directly review the code there. You could create a merge request or pull request directly to there, and that how is what is GitHub is. So if someone says hey, GitHub is Git, if someone says, oh, okay, GitHub is Microsoft Git, yeah, you need to correct them. You need to correct them that GitHub is not Git. So Git is different thing, and GitHub is different thing. GitHub is just a web based platform. There are a lot of alternatives for that. You could look at Bitbucket for hosting services. We have GitLab for hosting services, and although you could create your own server and host your code there, basically. and that's what separates what GitHub is different and GitHub is what Git is different and GitHub is different. So here is the meme that he's the child who's telling everyone that Git is GitHub. So if someone says it's your or responsibility to different tell them people that Git is not GitHub. So here's a similar meme. So someone use GitHub, someone use AirDrop to share files, someone use Google Drive, someone use private Discord, and someone use GitHub. Basically, GitHub provides unlimited storage to host your code, but for each repository, it's limited to 1 GB, because 1 GB is way enough. So, and if you need more than that, you need to go to the pro version, which is not necessary to go with. But you, if you have files like Unity files, or like you are doing some Blender work, it would take. But if you are not pushing binary code to GitHub, it won't take 1 GB of that, because GitHub have set it 1 GB because it is fast enough, and more than that would take time to clone the repo. So that's the reason. Next, here's second meme. We could review it. So someone used GitHub to put the code on. Someone used Google Drive. Someone take picture of your code, and someone put your code on Amazon audiobook, and they could review it later. So it's basically a meme. Now let's look at some core concept. So what is a commit? So let me share my screen here. So if someone says what is a commit, so commit is basically a snapshot of your code. So basically, a commit uh, is is a snapshot of your code. Let me make stop. Yeah, snapshot of your code. So uh, if you, what does snapshot mean basically? So if some basically it's a copy paste of your code, and if you make basically make directly a copy paste of your code, it won't be efficient, because you will be taking too much space for same code. So if you make thousands of commit, you could imagine how much space it would be taking in your computer. So to optimize it, what we did is we create a hash of your code and just find the changes what have been done. So it's uh, basically a delta what have been changed from your original repo of your code. And to really see how does commit work, it is a chain of commit. So suppose you, it is represented by like a big circle in, if in a graphical way, and if you make a commit, it is changed to this, and here is whole chain of commits line look like. And here it could be a branch, main branch, which is the head, basically the latest point. And LinkedIn, you have looked at what is head is, it's the topmost part of the commit. So basically that represent the main chain. And if you want to uh, look at how does the it looks in the code, let me share my console. So uh, stop sharing, we share tasking. Yeah. So if my terminal is visible, hopefully it should. And if you type git log, I have already cloned the GitHub tutorial. It would be, if you type git log, you could see this is the chain of commits. And here if I enter, you could see whole lot of commits. And if you are probably looking at how you could come out of this console, you need to press Q, and you will be out of your console. So here you could see this is whole thing of chain of commit is the starting point. uh, the starting is from this one, and it have all the author date. It have this is the hash of the code, like hash of the commit, which is very necessary. If when you remove your commit, it's required, because it is particularly assigned when which codes needs to be changed. Then there is a date, like what date does the commit at, and this is the commit message. So we will be, the commit message should be a short and descriptive message, so other dev like me, or other dev who are working on your code could look at your code and see, oh, no, okay, what have been done. So now we have got an idea about how what is GitHub commit is. Now let's look at the definition. A commit is a Git repository record of a snapshot, basically a copy paste of your code. It's a giant copy paste, but even better, basically it saves the delta, that is the change in your code. And here you could see it's commit name C0 to C1, and this defines your commits. Now let's look what is branch is. So branch are incredible things. So what is branch basically is, what is branch is? So branch is basically a pointer to a specific commit. Pointer to a specific commit. If someone asks you, okay, what is branch? It needs to be mentioned in one word. It's a pointer to a specific commit. So suppose here is your main line of a code, commits, commit 0, C0, C1, and here it's your commit line of code, C2, and here is your main. Here is your main. So this is a branch. So this is a pointer to your latest commit. And suppose here you created a new branch which is having a pointer to some branch n, which is defining the let's say it's a feature branch. So basically it's a pointer to a specific commit, which is a bn commit. So there is always a rule when you branch. So what is the rule? Branch early, branch often. This is the always the rule you need to remember: branch early, branch often. If you are any code, you start by create a early branch and branch often. Why? Uh, Let me write it down first. So the reason why branch early and branch often works is because branching doesn't take any space. It's just a pointer, so its memory space would be O of 1, so it's taking no space onto your machine. And what does branching does? It's make your code way much more readable. And if you are working on project line of a code, you don't want to mess up the main branch, because whole production code is on there, and if you commit some wrong commit, so whole branch like whole production line would be falling. So there are some terminology in branching which we I want to add. So if there in industries, there is first a QA branch, then we have a UAT branch, and then we have a main branch. So what does QA stand for? QA stands for quality assurance branch. So this is the branch where devs work on, and any feature they need to add onto this, they add to this branch. And this branch is for devs to basically mess with the code. You need to have some, if there is bug, they directly add this to this code branch. And then this branch is we then the branch is merge request with like a pull request is created to UAT, which is a acceptance testing, which testers test out this functionality. Okay, if all the things are working in, if user is using, how if everything is working or not. If suppose if a user use this code, what are the things could break. So tester test all those things, and basically if everything is correct, this a pull request is made to the main branch. Why you need to follow this rule? Because after this, most of the bugs are already caught, and you have the confidence that okay, when we make a pull request to the main branch, the code is going to work, because it have already passed through QA branch and UAT branch and main branch. Now let's look at what are the naming conventions in branching. So suppose if you have a feature, you are working on some feature, so the branching naming convention should be like feature, and then your feature slash the feature name you are working on, the feature name that you are working on, feature name that you are working on. Similarly, if you are working on bug, it's like bug slash the bug uh, you are working on, the bug that you need to fix. And if you are working on patch, similarly terminology is used, patch, and so on. And we remember, you don't need to work on directly main branch, because much of production line of CI/CD is connected to main branch. If some messed up code is pushed, then whole thing would be break out. Now we have got idea, okay, what is branches, what are the terminologies used. We know that, okay, we need to branch early and branch often, because there is no memory shortage overhead, because it doesn't take any space. And basically it's a very good method to branch early, because your main branch of code won't get messed up, and it's have some modularity you could go through. Yeah, this we have already looked at what is branch is. It's basically a pointer to specific commit. So suppose here this is our main branch, so you could look at this is our pointer to a specific commit. Now let's look at how does it coding look in coding look like. So this is my latest commit, and here which is my head, and this is the main branch. You could see this is a pointer to that specific commit, which has this. Now we have got, okay, what is branching is. Now let's look at some intuition behind git commands. Okay, so what I want you to do is, in the chat, Raj would provide you a GitHub repo. You need to clone this, and once, let's wait for 1 minute. If you could clone this, and then we could move ahead. So
So it's the repo on the GitHub tutorial, right, Abhijit?
yes.
Okay, so I just added the link in the chat. Can you check if this is the correct one?
uh, yeah, this is the correct one. So yeah, so someone have asked, is master branch or main branch is same? This is a very good question. So what happened was, in early 2010, sorry, 2016, master is changed to main. So GitHub changed their naming convention from master. So master was the main branch. They basically changed it because it was due to naming convention, that refers to slaves. So they change it to main. So now it's main branch. So it's just for the naming convention they change it to the main. So I hope everyone have uh, copy this, uh, clone this repo, and okay, cool. So everyone have, I hope everyone have some clone this repo. So now let's look what are the general method to add a file. I've seen, okay, let me clear my screen. And I've seen, like, in general term, I have seen, suppose, let's make a change. So this is tutorial for GitHub, and we remove some line. Okay. So what I've seen is people, what they generally do mistake here is just git add, and they add a full stop, and they pushed it. Like, what happened here is, and okay, this is a small level of code here, won't have a change, won't affect it. But if you are working on some open source code, or you working on project industry level of code, what will happen is, suppose I have some formatter, like, I use Prettify formatter, so it changed whole lot of formats there, and it will change whole thing. So what would happen is, once you add this command git add dot, the whole changes, like the changes that you haven't done, would be pushed. So it's a, the better thing is here, what we could do is, let me discard the changes. And what the best way is to do is git add, and you could press tab, and it will automatically specify, okay, which file you need to add. So okay, this is the readme file I want to add, and because I have implemented some changes here, I have added, remove some lines. Or suppose, let us add one more file, like license. uh, okay, it's already there. So like, contributor contributor.md. So here I have added contributor.md file. So how you could add this, just press tab, sorry, here in tab, and it will automatically specify, okay, what are the changes have been done. And you could see, you have to specifically mention the file's name that you need to add. Once it's done, the file is now in staging area. What So git add basically means the to add the changes that have been done to the staging area, your directory. we have look what is commit is. It's basically a snapshot of your code, that what have the changes have been made. If you look at here, you could see what have been changes have been done, and that I've added readme file, I've added contributor file. And once I've done, I could to make okay. So once I have to commit this, I could add commit message. uh, what the so commit message, the general route should be a short and sweet. So we have added a contributor file, so we could add it contributor file and updated readme dot, and here in the we close the statement here and just pushed it. So here you could see what it's mentioning. Okay, two files changes, two insertion have been made, for deletion, and created a mode contributed file. The mode is the this is basically system administration, like what are the changes you could do through this file. Now where this is the file, like if you need to look at, and if I go to the where this file is, like I have this file is in, let me open it. Okay, workshop. And here all, and if you look, if you have open your hidden folders, if you could open hidden folders in your Windows desktop, you could see there is a .git file. But basically it's all the changes are what are be done to it, it stays. And don't get confused what is inside .github. .github is for separate. So basically I will give you an intuition behind it. .github is for the whatever the changes you done do in, if you need some pipeline, like once you upload the code, you need if you need to make a binary out of it, so you don't have to do it manually while you commit it. So .github is for those, like it runs the test cases. You need to define a YAML file inside it, like workflows, and this is a YAML file and all those code inside it. That is what .github is for. And all the changes are in .git, and basically you don't need to worry about what is inside it. Basically all the uh, delta changes that are being inside .git. Now suppose, okay, I know what is git add. What if I forgot commands? So always remember, in any command you use, there is always a help flag. So suppose if I want to use git add and I forgot, okay, what to add, I forgot. So I could type help, and here get already comes with documentation. So it's opening here. You could see it already opens the documentation, and you could know, okay, you could, if you need a verbose, what is verbose is all the debug logs you need. You could use /v. We could have dry run. You could use -n if you want to force, which I won't recommend you to use force anytime. Basically it's just pushing whole thing if there is any error, although. And you could although you won't be using that much, but basically it gives you a description what the command does, and what how to use this, like in the in the ending you have some example you could look at, okay, how you could use this. And suppose, okay, now let's look for the commit. Like if you forget how to use git commit, you could use help. So uh, it's for general rule, like once you have, like you could see this is for commit, and it's work for every command, not for git. If you are using any other open source library which is well maintained, they have a help flag. So if you look at git, if you add directly help flag, okay, what are the things are directly, you could get a whole documentation out of it. What I use, what could you use, these are the common terms like clone, init, initializing repo, and all those. Now okay, we have got an intuition behind it. Okay, we added a so let's, what we could do is, let's add a contributor.md file, and I want you all to add your name in it and make a commit. So let's wait for 30 seconds and I will answer any other question if I could look onto. Um, yeah.
Abhijit, there is a general feedback that if you can go a bit slowly, that will be better for some people.
Yeah.
Uh, Maybe can you revise the Git part again? I think some people have not understood.
Yeah. Let's go again the git part. Okay. Okay. So, okay, if someone asks you what is Git, you could only describe in two words. It's a distributed version control. So what is distributed mean? So distributed mean is like every dev that is working have their own copy, and in Git you clone this repo and you have your own copy of the code. So once the code you have clone it, you have your own copy. And the what does version control means is the tracking of the all changes that you done into the repo. So it's uh, basically that what it is Git in simple words. So here you could look that uh, how does distributed architecture look like. So there is a repository server which is currently it's GitHub. It could be different, it could be GitLab, it could be Bitbucket, and from there you clone the repo. And every dev suppose here have their own repository, repository 1, repository 2, and repository 3. They could make their own changes, they could do all their update there, and they could push out there. And once they push the changes out there, they need to make a pull request, and once someone review it, it could be merged. So you could see how distributed version control works. It's like a server. First the all the changes have been done into your local changes, and once okay everything is good, then it's deployed to push to the remote server, which could be your GitHub and any other platform you are using for hosting the code. Now, alto to that, we have a centralized version control, which was basically before Git was invented. It was like there was SVN, which was known as subversion, and basically it was having some only single server. And if you having a single server, basically all developers have a single copy. So if some code was miscode was pushed, you could imagine like what would be the painful for the other code would be like. You could how messed up that code would be like. So if some messed up code is pushed, everyone get those code and everything would fail. And this was a very big challenge. And basically you could if you want to visualize, you could visualize from this meme that first was we don't have any tracking version control. Then SVN came. SVN was is for subversion, which is built by Apache. And then we have Git, which was developed by Linus, and which is open source. And after 20 it's and now have become industry standard. So I think you have got an idea like what is Git is. Uh, okay, cool. Now we have understood what Git. You have committed some code like um, okay, you have added your contributor file, added a contributor.md file. You could add your name onto it, and like Abhijit Singh, and you could add some statement like I have uh, uh, joined uh, Visuara workshop. A statement of your type. You could add your whatever you want to add. You could add your what you like you could add any statement you like. So it doesn't matter. So once you add it, you could add those, and you could push those changes directly to staging area. So sorry. To add those changes, we are already learned how to add those is by get add, and what are the changes is done to the file. So it's on contributor.md, and the changes is on staging area. Okay, so I hope you have done till this point git commit. Now okay, let's look at git push. So once the changes have been pushed, like once the changes have been done, everything is good. Now you want to change this like push the code. You could just basically call git push, and this would basically push your code from staging area to the remote. So if you look at the console, you could see it have been resolving all data and have been pushed to the main branch. And this is the origin, which is the hosted GitHub. And here is your already change have been done. You could see that I have already like some changes, but I've already pushed the staging changes that was contributor.md5. Now have looked at what is git push is, that to push your code to the from staging area to remote area. So some people have been doubted what a staging area is. Basically, your all the changes is inside your local machine, is in not to the some separate server or some remote server. Like there are servers that are off to your computer. So there are two terms basically that is we want to know is local repository and remote repository. Remote repository means repository which is not hosted directly to some server like GitHub, some GitLab, or Bitbucket. Local repository is defined, the code is confined to your own local machine, so you have not pushed it. That what is local area means. And staging area is basically adding all the changes to the local repository. And once it's done, someone would say, okay, the changes is in my local repository, I need to commit it to the report repository. This basically means the changes is inside his local machine, and he is going to push into the main repo. Now we have looked at what is git push is. Git checkout is basically mean is to change the branch. So we have looked at, okay, how do you change the branch? So basically you need to make suppose to change a branch, like if we need to change a branch to suppose feature branch, like we have talked about. So git checkout, we create a branch checkout, and we add a flag dot b. What does this flag does? So this flag is, if this branch is not created, it would be created. That is, this flag is for, and sorry, if let me set it up. So if once you have added those, we need to add some naming convention that we have known as feature slash uh, tutorial. You could add and you could create those branch. Now you could see that the branch have been created, and directly I'm to switch directly to this branch. And you always remember that you don't need to push the code directly to the main branch. And the reason, that already main branch code contains a lot of CI/CD linked to the main branch, and if you mess that up, the whole thing would be into failure. But to resolve that, already some measure is already done. Like in GitHub, you could make a setting to only push on to QA branch and then to UAT and main. Now we have looked out what this checkout branch is. Basically switching from one branch to the another branch. And slash b, flag b is used to like if those branches not there, it will create one is used. So here you could see here get branch and checkout feature branch that you are working on. So what is git fetch? So git fetch is basically to fetch if any changes have been done to the code. So suppose now if someone developer have committed some changes directly to the code feature branch, and I want to fetch it out, like what are the changes have been done, and I don't want to merge that code directly to like main feature branch. Just I want to see, okay, what are the changes have been done. So I use git fetch, and if those changes are okay that I want to merge it into my branch, it's I could directly get merge, and it to that branch it would directly merge. So if I want to suppose merge my feature branch tutorial uh, tutorial to merge branch, so let's make some changes, like adding new line. So adding new line, and we commit this. Basically you could also commit it directly from here in your console. You could mention updated readme, and here you could commit this, and this would add those to the staging changes. Commit it, add it new line, and commit those changes. Okay, now the changes are to the feature branch. And now let's look how you could merge directly feature tutorial branch to the main branch. So you need to um checkout to the main branch, and we know how to check out it. Git checkout to branch, that is main. And now we could call git merge. And if you don't know what is how to use it, you could know help flag, you could use it, and it will open your documentation. Basically, you need to call feature tutorial that the branch is. I hope the spelling is right. And here you could see the whatever the changes are done. So you could see two file changes, two insertion have been made in the contributor.md and readme file. So now we have got an idea how Git pull works. Now let's look. We have also looked how uh, Git merge works, Git fetch works. Now let's look what is Git pull. Git pull is basically the combination of fetch and merge. If you look onto this diagram, you could imagine it. So if you want to pull all the latest changes and directly merge into your branch, you could directly call Git pull, and it will directly pull all the changes from remote repository to your working directory. Okay, so here is a diagram that will help you get a clear idea what is local and remote repository is. A local repository is that okay, all the changes is onto your machine. You haven't pushed it, so we added a file, get committed it, and we didn't push it. So all the changes are done into my local repository, local machine. And once I pushed it, it would be in the code. There is a remote origin that where to push this code, and we already defined that the code would be where you clone from. So it would be that the GitHub repository that would be your origin, and all the changes are pushed to that. Now we have looked at okay, someone have changed their code, how we could push take those changes. We could either fetch it and review it. Okay, do we want to add those or changes or not? And if we get fetch and merge, that will directly be onto the working directory, or you could directly call pull to pull all the latest changes and directly to merge it. We have checkout. We know checkout. What is checkout is for? If you need to create a change to a new branch, you could directly create suppose you have created a branch and you need to move out to that branch, you call git checkout. And if you add /b tag, which is commonly used, uh, it will change out directly to that branch, or if it's not existing, it will create one new branch. So now let's look at some cool GitHub repository and open source tools. So okay, so could you try to guess like what is this uh, open source tool is? Let me look into the chat if someone is answering correct. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, I'm asking for this one. This one. Does this everyone know that what is this robot shape open source tool is? It have gained recent traction. So let me tell you the story why it's getting famous and why it's getting pumped. So Unity, if you are into game development, you might know you might be using different gaming engines. So you might be using Unity, or you might be using Unreal, or if you are in some industry Rockstar Games, like they create GTA 6, GTA 5, so they have their own gaming engines. So what happened was like Unity, like which is the more popular tool used for game development, like among industry which don't have their own gaming engines. What they did is they created a changes that okay, if there is a download amount, suppose you created a game and it's having a download of 100, we will charge some amount. And like it was huge amount, I think it was something like $1 or something per downloads after that. So every developer was game developer was very furious. Oh, okay, we don't want to pay that much of hefty fees. So that's why this Godot engine was popularized. Godot is an open source gaming engine, and it's gaining a lot of uh, traction now. because of its open source, and it's have cool assets and tools. You could check it out. And now let's look at to the what is this. So you might be looking at, okay, this is some ship bar handle. This is Kubernetes, and what's the history behind Kubernetes? So what happened was, basically Kubernetes was internal tool. So if you know container, what is Docker is basically, if you want to imagine what is Docker is, you could compare it with a ship container size. Like ship have containers, right? So you could contain all your items from like one place to another. So basically that what it is, a Docker is. So suppose your code is working and you want to make it containerized so that it could be worked onto any other machine. That what is Docker do. So you have come across many problems, such as your code is working on your machine, but while those code might not be working on your friends or your other developers machine. So to solve those problems, Docker was made, which was a tool from Linux that was used. They already have containers already, and they changed its name to the Docker. And that what it is, Docker is. And Google used Docker for managing their own system. So what issue is, like, you have thousands of containers, and suppose if one container gets like not working properly, then what you could do. So then whole set of function would be collapsing. So they came with their own internal tooling, that is Kubernetes. So it is a tool to handle containers, and it was recently like open source in 2018, and it gained popularity very rapidly. And it is they have this pods. So if this pod is like, if your container is switched off, like it's not working properly, it automatically replaces. They have their internal system cd file that does it. And most of the open how so open source work is, like, some companies like Google or Meta, they work on their internal toolings. They have their tools to work on their own project. And if and similarly, like Kubernetes, like internal tools, and they find that, okay, this tool is working very good, we could open source it. So that's how open source from the organization works, like Google. And now let's look at some more GitHub cool repos and tools. So recently, you could know that Meta is one of the, like, companies that is doing actually open source is Meta. So if you know React, like open source or React Native, the story behind this is like when Facebook released their Facebook app, right? So the one issue was that what they did is, for every company version Android, I'm specifically saying for Android specific company, they have a separate version for the Facebook app. So if you are on OnePlus, you have a different Facebook version. If you are uh, on like Xiaomi, your Facebook ad would be different. This was at a later time in 2000s. So what Facebook didn't knew was that how much problem it would incur. So what happened was, so suppose there is some issue in one version, and so what happened is, like, so if some feature was deployed, so it was deployed for some version, it was not deployed for other version. And similarly, the iOS thing, it was for specific version. So you could imagine what amount of pain it was, like, for every version having separate version of Facebook. To manage those, it would take a lot of time. So they created React and React Native. So basically, it's a tool you could do, uh, directly deploy for uh, cross platforms, directly for Android and iOS. And they have their Facebook and Instagram, which is basically built on React Native and React. So now, having those open source, they have open source those. And you could, now it's very easy to manage any feature for iOS and Android. You don't need to code it out separately for Android and iOS or web. You could easily hand out the cross platform application. recently you have come across that they are in very much in LLM space. They are making much more noise. So they in recently they, I think today or tomorrow, they have released 3.1 LLM, and which is sorry, 3.1 llama, and which is have made lot of noise, that it is similar to like very close, like it is in competition to with lot of closed source LLMs, that is ChatGPT 4.0, and it is Claude API, Claude LLMs. You could like you could benchmark with those. So you could imagine how Microsoft is really in one of the companies that takes open source seriously. Another, you have known this penguin, that is Linux. So a lot of the tools we use is from Linux. So Docker already came from Linux. Then we have Git, it already came from the Linux Foundation. And we have then uh, already have operating system, that is Linux. If you want to imagine how much like operating Linux is used, you could imagine your every phone is built on Linux, and like they have uh, uh, are built upon operating system. Like every phone have operating system Linux, and upon those we have Android and other OS. And in desktop we have Linux. And then since it's open source, many version are there. Like for Mint we have then Red Hat. We have other specific version which is for specific use. For Kali Linux, it's for like ethical hacking. Ubuntu for your working experience. Then we have Mint, we have Arch Linux, and lot of Linux version out there. Now let's talk about recent issue we have faced. So you might have in recent, like on Monday, I think there was a um like a lot of um, issue. Like Microsoft was like was on the update issue, and which caused a global IT failure. If someone knows in the chat could mention it, remember those, like what happened. So let me check. Yeah. So yeah, everyone remember CrowdStrike. Okay. So CrowdStrike was a company which is basically an cybersecurity company, which does uh, which made an update to the Microsoft server. And what issue was came out was that uh, Microsoft is built on C++, and it was trying to access some null error, and which it caused whole Windows to got in a failure state. And you could imagine how much it created a global pandemic. It like all the in India, all Indigo flight was switched off, like all the airport was shipped off. I remember in one of my friend company, they gave them holiday. So to now you could imagine. So like what are the issues? So to resolve those, we have Rust. So
Abhijit, you became muted somehow.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, no
uh,
problem.
so where I missed, like CrowdStrike,
Just like last couple of sentences.
okay. So okay, I will repeat myself. So if you are in C++, like C++ was trying to access some null values, and this was caused Microsoft to cause like in the like my Windows is built on C++, and C++ was trying to access some, in the update it was trying to access some null values, and null address, and which caused whole Windows to get onto the failure state, and which caused a whole pandemic. And so this is why Rust was already developed to solve the $1 billion issue, which is to which have basically null point. Basically, what it does, it doesn't access null pointer because of its safety in handling those null values. So when it's out of scope, if any variable is out of scope, it dereferences. And this is why Rust is gaining the popularity, and many of Linux kernel are being written in Rust nowadays. And the if you know, if you work on Next.js or a thing, their compiling is done in now in Rust. Like Next.js 14 is done in Rust, and they have got some high speed and way more safety because of the null. They were able to solve the null issue because of if it doesn't access the null. And now in the last we have a TensorFlow. So many of your ML architecture are based on this TensorFlow diagram. So it's a tool to train your models, and it's developed by Google and it's open source. So most of the architecture like ResNet, MobileNet are already on TensorFlow. They already open sourced it. You could check those out. So these are some cool tools you could check this. You have to know about in IT industries. So now let's look at how you could host on a GitHub page. So I hope in the chat we could add some the link which we are going to post on to the GitHub page.
Yeah, let me. I've added it in the chat. This is the correct one, right?
Let me check. Uh, yeah. Yeah, this is. So this is the one. So let me share my screen again. Okay. So this is the repo. So you could copy this and or fork onto your repo. So fork is basically a copy of your code. So you just need to fork it. And what I want you to do is you need to add your name here. Hello world. Hello, I am Abhijit Singh. Basically your name, and we could directly do on onto the GitHub. So let's say hello. Let's add a head tag. Hello, I am Abhijit Singh, and this is the one. And you directly commit it to commit the changes. I'm directly committed it to the main change. So because it's um in demo, but if you are in industry, you don't need to do that. And once you have done it, so if you need to host it, GitHub provides a basic thing, provide a hosting service. What it does, it knows only one thing, that is it knows index.html file. So any file you host, it should have index.html file, and it only host that file. Inside it, you could add your scripts, JS scripts, your CSS scripts, and it will host it. So now let's look at how you could host it. So on the setting, you need to go to the go to the pages, and here you need to add a build and deploy from branch. And here once you do it, you need to save it, and it will directly host from the root branch, that is main branch. And once it's done, it will take few seconds to initialize it, and you could your page is live. So let's see if it's working. So this is a basic HTML site. You could add more JS tag and make it more prettify, but this is how basically it's done for the your how your GitHub page is hosted. Now once we have got what how you could host the GitHub file, now let's look what we have next. So now let's me create a game for you. Okay, let's okay. Okay, so I want everyone could join this link, and let me check if everyone is here. We will wait for 1 minute. I'm thinking we are already out of time. 1 minute.
Vijit, I think you have shared the link with one attendee, not with
Okay.
everyone. Can you check that again? I'll paste the link with here everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one, right? The second one.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, so let's wait for 1 minute and let's see what you what we have learned. Okay. Uh,
Okay, don't click on this second link which I have shared. Click on the link which Abhijit has shared at the top. I'll delete my link.
Okay, so I think we could start. There's a limit. So other those who haven't joined could answer from this in the chat. Okay, which what is the command to initialize a new Git repository? Okay, everyone knows it. Git in it. Who have typed git start? I don't think git start is
What's
a
the game pin?
yeah.
People are asking the game pin.
It's already reached to the limit. So
Oh, okay. They can
okay,
just answer over here.
yeah. So Sayam Karni is leading the board. Yeah, and we have next move. Which file is used to specify files and directory that Git should ignore? Okay, that's good thing. Everyone knows Git ignore. Yeah, so that's a good thing. So we have the leaderboard. Sam Karni is leading the board. Next, we have Moon and Perry. Yeah, let's go to the next question. What does the command git status do? Cool. Most of them are right. Display the current status of the working directory in staging area. We have the leaderboard changed. We have Moon on the top. Uh, let's look at fourth question. Which command stages all the changes in your working directory for the next commit? We have talked about it, so it should be fast enough. And I hope no one gets wrong this one. Oh, uh, okay. This might be got some confusion, like git commit add, but it's basically a git add that commit all the stages into your staging area. We have changed. We have Venkatesh on second, ABR, and we have Moon on the top. It's this is the second last question. How do you resolve a merge conflict in Git? This is some higher order thinking. Yeah, by manually editing the conflict. So you, if there is merge conflict, you need to go uh, to the code and you have to manually check. Okay, this is the incoming changes and what are the changes already done. Do I need to accept it or not? So this is where git merge conflict comes. So we have changed the leaderboard. ABR is in the top. So let's. What is the command to view the commit history in Git? It's very easy. You could. So yeah, like most of them are correct. Yeah, we have git log, and git history is. I don't think there is any command for it. Um, Git commit is to check this your commit. What are the changes have been like. Git commits is actually not a command itself. Git commit is a one. Git show is not any other command. We have git log, and I think we have top on first one is Sayam Karni, and then we have Venkatesh, and then I think Moon. Okay, we have ABR on the top. So congratulations, uh, we have runner-up Moon and Gold, everyone. So now, now I think okay. Now I would like to ask Sridhar to take the stage, and he will show you how to do it on GitHub Desktop.
Thank you so much, Abhijit.
Yeah.
Hope everyone can see my screen and hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now comes the easy part. You guys can take a deep breath and relax. Git was definitely it's for people who really want to do very complex things. For normal people like me who do not want to do so many complex things, GitHub desktop is a lifesaver because you won't be writing a single line of code. So if you really look at, if you talk to 10 people, maybe you will find one person using GitHub desktop. Most of the people will use command line. They'll be coding to fork or clone or whatever, right? So in reality, from my personal experience, so if there is Raj, Rajat, me, and Abhijit, I think 3 of you guys use GitHub command line. I use GitHub desktop, and I don't feel dumb. I feel I feel very good about that, and I'll show you why. So GitHub desktop is it's like a user interface for not having to write the code for Git commands. So you can operate things like you can push into GitHub, you can pull from there, etc., without having to write a single line of code. So if you guys have internet right now, just go here, go to Google, type GitHub desktop, and it will show up this website. And just click that to open, and you can download GitHub desktop. You don't have to follow me right now. You can just listen to me, and you can follow later, because I don't think you'll be doing anything new. You'll just get a brief overview of what Abhijit has shown you so far through commands. So GitHub desktop looks something like this. So this is my GitHub desktop. So this will allow me to not write any line of code in terminal. So what I'm going to show you is, I will show you a very simple implementation of forking, cloning. Maybe I can show you branching and making some changes and pushing those changes back, right? So I will show you that much. So just allow me to stop my screen sharing for 1 second to delete one of my already cloned repos, because I can repeat the same process once again. Just a second. All right. Okay. So I hope you can see my YouTube screen. So this is a very nice YouTube video that I recently came across. This video is about how to use reinforcement learning for teaching an AI algorithm to play the snake game. So we'll run this code right now, but we will not be writing pieces of code. We'll just show you how to fork the original repo, clone it to your remote, and make some changes in the code, make some simple changes in the code, and push it back. So in the description of this particular lecture, I'll just post the link to this lecture. It's not very very relevant for this particular lecture, but just you can just listen if you don't want to code with me right now. So the code is hosted here in this particular repo. So I have already cloned this. So what I'll do is, let me fork it. So let me first delete this so that I can start from fresh. So let me delete my original fork. And okay, so now I'm starting from scratch. So this is the original repository, and you can see something called as fork here and star. So these two are two important things. So if a repo has star is like upward. So if there are so many stars for a publicly hosted GitHub repo, it means it's a really good one, and 600 is very respectable number. So this is a very good repo. And forking means you are basically creating a copy for yourself so that you can work on it, and if you want to contribute back to this parent repo, you can do that. So I'll just fork it here, click fork. I hope you saw the fork button. So there was fork and star, and here you can just type whatever name you want to type. I just typed snake AI PyTorch. You can type whatever you want. Owner is my own. So we have our startup repo, but I'll be using my own personal GitHub profile here. And then I'm only copying the main branch. I think this repo only has main branch. I don't think it has any other branch. Okay, so now I clicked create fork, and now this is creating the fork. And this, whatever you'll see here, will be exactly same as what you saw in the original parent repository. All good. So now you have this. So here you can see that this is Sridhar. So this is my GitHub, and this is the name of the repo, Sridhar/snake AI PyTorch. So now on GitHub desktop, let me actually close GitHub desktop and open it again so that I can show you from scratch. So I'll open GitHub desktop. So assume that you have installed GitHub desktop. Don't worry about installing right now. You can we'll share the recording and you can do it later. So when you install GitHub desktop and open it, you can see all the, if you have already cloned bunch of repositories into your remote, meaning into your personal computer, they will show up here. But otherwise this part will be empty. Like whatever you're seeing here are bunch of different repos that I have been working on. If you want to create a new repository, all you need to do is like file, new repository. You can put whatever name you want, test repo, and then if you want to add some files, you can do that. But then you create a repository like this, and then you can publish it directly to the GitHub. And here they will be asking the name. So test repo, just publish the repo to the your GitHub. So this is one way in which you can create a new repo, but that's not the point of this one. I'm just trying to show you how to use this code, right? So here you see this green button called code. You click that, and yes, first we fork, then we should clone. Exactly. So Ananta, you're asking the right question. Yes, so I forked this, so this is the fork. Now I'm going to clone it. So click this, and here do you see open with GitHub desktop? Just click that. Then it will ask us to clone if it's not cloned. So here I had cloned it before, but I deleted whatever was there in my my desktop. So I am now cloning once again. Any advantage using GitHub desktop over GitHub? So it's not a difference between GitHub desktop and GitHub. See, normally how do you push something to GitHub? You write commands in terminal, right? Or let's say you clone a repository, you type some command in the terminal. That's how you usually clone something from the GitHub, right? You go to GitHub website, find whatever is the repository name, and you type the command in your terminal to clone it, right? Now imagine that typing this command in terminal is replaced by a push of a button. So these buttons, what you see, whatever you see in this GitHub desktop, will do that for you. So it is more of a replacement for a terminal. Do you see me opening terminal anywhere here? No, right? I'm not touching terminal. So GitHub desktop is not a replacement for GitHub. GitHub desktop is sort of like a replacement for terminal, in my opinion, for everything related to whatever you want to do in GitHub. Okay, so now I have cloned this thing, and here it will show fetch origin, meaning you are fetching whatever is, where is the origin? Origin is in GitHub servers. This is whatever you are seeing right now on my screen is remote meaning on your local computer. So I click fetch origin, and this will fetch from the upstream meaning whatever is there in the GitHub server. Okay, now everything is fetched. Now I'll just open this code using exactly GitHub desktop is a GUI for instead of using terminal, graphical user interface. So these buttons, not a terminal with are not there in GitHub web version. So GitHub web version, so that's the difference, right? So normally what you do, if you have Canva, if you're using Canva, there is Canva website and there is Canva desktop. They are basically the same thing. Canva desktop is just the desktop installed version of Canva website, but GitHub desktop is not just the desktop installed version of GitHub online website. GitHub online website is just a platform where you can access repository that others have hosted on internet, or your own repositories which are hosted on GitHub servers. GitHub desktop is like, it's like a agent who acts between you and GitHub. And in the absence of GitHub desktop, who's the agent? The agent is kind of like your command line interface, the terminal, right? Okay, so I'll just show you now. What I'll do is click file, or rather, I know the shortcut, but I just don't know where is the open in Visual Studio Code. So I have Visual Studio Code installed. So I usually use this Command Shift A. This is a shortcut, but basically if I click open in Visual Studio Code, this exact code which we forked and cloned will open in the Visual Studio Code. Okay. Now I know one thing to change here to make the code work, but I'll just show you that. So I just have to comment a piece of line, and don't worry about this code. I have no intention for you to understand this code at all. So I'm happy if you don't understand anything, but just focus on what I'm trying to do here. So, okay, just a second. I'll just open this once again. Okay, I'll open this code which we cloned onto our local. Do you want to just see how the local looks like? So the local looks like this. So these are bunch of repositories that I have cloned into my local, and the Snake AI PyTorch. See, today 9:21 p.m. This is the one which I cloned just before. So it's over here. So whatever is there on GitHub servers, in that particular, you saw the Snake game repo hosted by those guys who made the YouTube video. So from there I fetched, and now it's on my local computer, and now I'm going to edit it and I'll push it back. Okay, so let me just make sure this code is working. I just want to get this to run somehow. Okay, awesome. I think this is working. So can you see this snake thing, or is it not visible? Can you see the snake moving, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so this is like a reinforcement learning game where the snake is trying to learn. So you see here game number 1, 2, 3. Initially the record is 0. I mean, this is a digression. Of course, my intention is not to teach you snake game. But here what's happening is, this is like a snake that is getting trained by reinforcement learning. And as it makes new moves, as it gets a reward, which means as it eats the food, it learns the right kind of moves to make. And then slowly you will see that as the game progresses, its own record will increase. So initially the record was 0, now the record became 1. It's moving like a madman, like it has no idea what's doing. But you will see as the game progresses, it will become better and better. So this is like the code base for that. I did not write this. I found the code that someone else wrote. The code was provided as a GitHub link on their YouTube video. I just forked it and then cloned it. Okay, I'll just stop it here. I mean, this is very interesting. I invite all of you to try this, but it will take some time for the game to progress. But you can see slowly the snake's record is increasing. Anyways, now let's say I make a small change. Maybe something like, so this is the color of the snake. It is currently red. So maybe I'll make this into green. So I'll put this as 200. And let me just run this. So this is the change that I am making to this code base, right? I hope the snake becomes green. Okay, something became, okay, sorry, RGB, B is blue. I did not change green. So where is that? Yeah, so this should be 200, and this I'll keep 0. So now hopefully the snake should look like green color. Snake or the food, I think. The food should look like green color, I guess. Whatever, it definitely changed from red, so I'm happy. Okay, now it's green. So this is the change that I made, right? So now where can I see this change? The change can be seen over here in GitHub desktop. If you go, you see the changes that I made now. So this, when you click each of them, you can see what did I delete and what did I add. So all these things which you see in minus in red color is things that I removed, and all these things which you see in plus are the things that I added. But if you compare these two, all you can see you can see that all I have done is like I commented these lines of code. That's all I did, right? So you can see the changes that you made in each of these files, and then you can create a commit. So before committing, you have to write like a summary. So you know the most common summary that people write, latest. This is the most common summary that I also write. Like, but you know, if you are collaborating with other people, you have to be really respectful when you create like there is this description. So describe what changes you made, and request them to consider this change, right, when you are pushing it back. So I'll just put latest here because I don't care right now. So then, is there a different way to differentiate current changes? Last time I like what I see on Git. Oh, okay, yeah, it's possible on GitHub also. But anyways, let me continue. So I did commit. What happened right now? Did the changes go back to GitHub server? No. I just committed the changes, meaning I approve of these changes. That's it. I still haven't sent it to the server. This is a very important point, guys. So Raj, Rajat, and I, we like many years ago, we were working on a code together, and then we did coding for like 7 days. And what I did was I was supposed to make a bunch of changes. I made a bunch of changes. I did not commit it, and before committing, I again fetched some changes from the origin. And there were some changes in the origin meaning from the GitHub, the main branch that Raj and Rajat were pushing to. So when I fetched those changes, what happened is whatever changes I had made for 1 week in my computer was completely lost. So so you have to commit your changes if you want to kind of ensure that those changes are taken into consideration. Okay, I committed, but this is not enough. And you see this symbol called 1. It shows that I have made a commit, and then I just need to push this to origin. Push meaning it will go all the way till the original repo from where I did the undo button. I maybe it is there, but no, I tried a lot actually. If you don't commit a change, and if you kind of overwrite on top of your remote origin, it's gone basically. So then you push to origin. Okay, so I pushed it. Guys, please remember the main change that I made. The only change that I made was in this agent.py, in this game.py, the code for this line number 21 red was 200.00. This was how it was in the original thing. So now, yeah, so if without doing commit, if we fetch, it will remove everything that we worked on basically. So although this file, this game.py, agent.py, these files are saved locally, it will be gone. So it's not a matter of whether this file is control S saved or not. It's more about whether those changes that you made and you saved, are you committing to those changes or not, right? Okay, now let's go back to the GitHub repository and see what happened. So this is, I think, my snake PyTorch. I should see, yeah. Do you see this 2 minutes ago? 2 minutes was the one which I just pushed. So in game.py, now if you go, you see that this red is 0, Before it was 200.00. So this is how you can work on a change and you can push it into the origin. So here I was working in the main branch, but you can of course work on other branches. Let me just quickly show you. So here if you click branch, I can create a new branch. So some people were asking what exactly does branch mean. This is exactly what branch means. So if I create a branch, and let's say I put my name Sridhar, then I create a branch, then what I can do is I can bring all the changes whatever happened in main branch to my Sridhar branch. So let me just do that and switch the branch. So now you will see what happens. So one difference is right now this Sridhar branch never exists in the original repo. See here, if I click this main branch, there is only main, there is no Sridhar branch. The Sridhar branch currently exists only in my remote, meaning only in my local computer. So I have to publish the branch for it to appear in GitHub. So let me publish the branch. So if I publish and if I refresh, you will see one more branch created here. You see Sridhar is created here. So this is how you should be working on. So if I am having a repository in which I am working on main branch, I will ideally not allow others to mess up my main branch, because then my code is gone. So I will ask people to create branches from the main branch and work on their branch. So this is a very simple introduction to Git. So if I'll not show more commands here because that will be too much information for you guys to consume tonight. But the point that we were trying to make is, see, GitHub is an amazing way in which you can do Git version control. And in my opinion, GitHub is an amazing way in which you can control Git. GitHub desktop is a very good way in which you can control Git, the actual GitHub. So Git is the original OG. GitHub was created to make version control using Git very easy. GitHub desktop was created for even more dumber people like me to make using the GitHub much more easy. So that's how you can think of it, sort of. Now, one more thing we want to show you just before we end the call. Of course, we know that there are a lot of questions. We have released the GitHub masterclass on our website. So this link I am going to share in description. And this masterclass, we have put countless number of hours of literal blood and sweat to create this masterclass. It's almost so the idea of this masterclass is whatever we identify as valuable in GitHub for someone to know, for both beginners and advanced, we plan to host it as assignments, quiz, and lecture material on this masterclass. So you can think of it like a living book. Imagine you buy a book of version 1, but you also naturally get access to version 2, version 3, version 5, etc. So this course, we are planning to make it like that. So once you are part of the course, you will forever, it's like a lifetime access. You will get access to every single thing that we'll be adding to that course over time. So just check out the course, and if you want to enroll, feel free to enroll. We are also releasing certificate for people who finish the course, but not just for people who finish just the course video content, but also for those who finish plus the video content plus the assignments. So just go through the course, and it will take you easily a few weeks to finish the current version of it, and we'll be upgrading it as time goes by. So just check it out. I hope all of you are able to access the content. So one thing we also realized, it's not free course, it's a paid course. Just so check it out. The pricing is also listed on the link. One thing we realized from today's course is, see, when we started the webinar, there were 300 people. By 9 p.m., there were 150 around people. And this is exactly the reason why people find Git difficult. Like, if you are listening about Git for the very first time in your life, you will feel like, no, this is not for me. And this happened to me also. This happened to all of us. And because of that reason, we lost years that we could have worked on Git and GitHub. And this is mainly because of that starting. If you think of it like a curve, if there is a time in your life where you will feel Git as the absolute worst thing that can happen to you, and if you are a beginner, most likely those days will be today, tomorrow, and the first few days. But after that, you will think of it as a lifesaver, and you will truly appreciate the beauty of it, especially when you start to work on serious projects, and especially when you start messing up code bases or even documents that you're working on. Once you start going from hobby projects to slightly better projects, and once you also, one thing I completely forgot to show you, just give me a second. So on GitHub, there is one more thing called, so if you go to your GitHub profile, you see this green color thing. It's basically the days in which you have made contributions. So you can see how frequently I have been using GitHub. So if you go to 2020, and it will be 0. In 2020, I have made very few contributions. In 2019, it will be completely 0. So let's say your GitHub profile looks like this. It means if you are applying for jobs, you are most likely doomed, because they know that you don't know anything. If it looks like this, again you are doomed, because they understand that you probably pushed bunch of things just before your interview. If it looks like this, it's okay, but you are not regular. Of course, by no means I use GitHub I don't use GitHub on a daily basis. And here clearly you can see, I realized, can you guess what happened in September? In September 2022, I discovered GitHub desktop, and my number of pushes increased dramatically. In 2023, I have been using GitHub a lot. In these months, these were my lean months. 2024 was not bad so far. So, I mean, I don't care about this because I'm not going to apply for jobs ever. But if you guys are interested to apply for jobs, just make sure that you are working in GitHub and pushing your contributions into the GitHub repository. It actually matters. Although, let's say we are hiring to our startup, we generally don't look at this, but if we see someone with very minimum GitHub contribution, it is definitely a red flag. It either shows that this guy has never worked on anything serious, or I don't know. I don't know what to say, but it's generally not a good thing. So make it, instead of gray or black, make it as much green as possible. Okay. Any
I also wanted to share one more thing. So basically, in the list of courses which we had, there are two more courses which we have released recently. The first is this neural network from scratch, which is basically building an entire neural network from the ground up. And we have also had YouTube videos on this same topic. But in this, if you go to this link, which I have also shared this on the chat right now, you will see that there are assignments also in every section. So there are 14 videos here and there are 6 assignments in the neural network from scratch. This is one course. The GitHub masterclass, which Ridat said, is another course. And then the final is the machine learning bootcamp. So this is the course on scientific machine learning. I've also added the link to this, all of these courses in this document. So you can go through this document to look at the links. And I think most of these courses are really high quality because we have spent so much time on it. Many of you might have gone through the YouTube videos of some of the ML deep learning content. Yeah, so I think that brings us to the end of our session. We are already 7 minutes beyond time, but I just want to say that I think Abhijit did a great job in the initial part. It's a difficult topic, the Git topic, but I think we managed to cover it in a very, very good manner. So just want to thank him for the session.
Yeah, initially we assumed before creating this masterclass that Git is probably a topic everyone knows, but now we more than ever realize that in fact many people do not know about it, and it's a very good eye opener. So we'll definitely be hosting probably a bit more toned down version of GitHub workshop, so that we can also address complete beginners who have no idea. Right. So, but Abhijit, tremendous job. It's like this is probably a very, very difficult topic to cover, and many people are having different types of operating systems, different types of computers, versions. I use GitHub desktop. Someone else is using terminal, and people are at different levels of coding experience. So it's very difficult to cater to all audience. But tremendous job, Abhijit.
We'll probably be conducting many more sessions in this GitHub series. Now that we have received feedback from everyone on the chat, we can probably have a full session on GitHub desktop, another session on just how to work with terminal. I noticed that many people are not even comfortable using terminal in the first place. I think there is a lot of merit in conducting a session for individual topics like this. Okay, then I think we are 10 minutes past time. So I think we can end the session now.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot everyone for joining. We'll be conducting many more sessions.
Yeah.
Abhi,
Yeah. Last one. So everyone who are there could, like, if they could turn on their camera, we could have a screenshot so we could remember
Oh
that
yeah.
we have.
yeah.
We can. I don't know. Do you guys have camera turning on permission? You do, right? Okay. Thanks, guys. Very good to see all of you.
Yeah.
Faces.
Cool.
Yeah.
I could see Puneet. Let's say, hi Puneet. Someone. We have Miles. We have Srivanas. Let me take a screenshot here. So.
What should we show? Should we show something?
Yeah. Let's say victory. Yeah. Today we learn GitHub. Yeah. Let me take one.
No problem. We'll.
Yeah.
Because we all are in different time zones, but for those in India, you guys have to go to work tomorrow, right? So thanks for staying up so late on a work day. Tremendous job.
Yeah.
Avijit, you took the screenshot, right?
Yeah. I've took the screenshot. Thank you, everyone. So
Thank you.
Thank you. See you in the next event.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.